Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 14 start and sit video for the wide receiver position. If you guys haven't already, check out our other start and sit videos for the running back and quarterback. And of course, if you guys have lineup question, hit us up in the comments down below. There are two teams on a bye. You've got the Commanders and Cardinals. Right? Like, it's not too bad. You're still, of course, dealing with injuries. So again, if you have those tough questions, hit us up in the comments. This is the last week of the regular season for fantasy football, right before you guys get into the playoffs. So hopefully these videos have helped you get you into that position to have a great and successful season. Now, these are your obvious starts at wide receiver. One name I am super excited to actually put in there is Justin Jefferson. And yes, I'm going to put him as an obvious, even though we have not seen him perform. And of course, you have Josh Dobbs at quarterback. But Jefferson is too talented to sit on your bench. And I know everyone who's been sitting on him as an IR position. I've been waiting for this day, so I'm excited just like all of you. I have him in a few leagues. I'm super pumped. Now, my first wide receiver I'm going to recommend as a good start is going to be DJ Moore versus the Lions. He could be an obvious. Like, you could have put him as an obvious spot, and I understand that. Last outing, Moore had a great game. He put up 22 fantasy points. He had just under 100 yards and a touchdown. And again, between Chicago and Detroit, they're going to be in a shootout rivalry game. With Justin Fields being at the quarterback position, DJ Moore, of course, his game just elevates completely. DJ Moore is very talented, but he does need a quarterback like Fields who's going to scramble, make some plays, and of course get the ball down the field with that arm. So I love that. These two together have been fantastic this whole season. Lions are also allowing 18.1 points to wide receivers as well and a touchdown per game. So this is going to be a nice little shootout. I expect both teams to put up a big fight. Who knows who could end up this one? I know the Lions should have lost the first game. A lot of Chicago Bears fans, of course, disappointed, but I do like DJ Moore a lot. Another wide receiver I like this week is going to be Courtland Sutton versus the Chargers. Chargers' pass defense isn't great. Sutton has been a red zone threat and a touchdown machine, so this really bodes well for him. I do expect the Chargers to perform a lot better than they did against New England. New England's defense is really good. Don't get me wrong. Denver's defense has done pretty well in their winning streak. Now, they did lose last week, which obviously played a factor. That defense didn't play as well. But I do like this matchup for Courtland Sutton. I'm not so crazy about Judy. Sutton clearly is the favorite wide receiver for Russell Wilson this season. Chargers are allowing a touchdown per game and 20.2 points to running backs in fantasy. Again, I expect a nice little shootout. I expect Chargers to do a lot better. And I like Sutton as a nice wide receiver too. Of course, solid flex play as well this week. Another receiver I like this week is going to be Jalen Waddle versus the Titans. Of course, you're going to start Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle hasn't been as great as you would hoped. Tennessee, though, does have a horrible pass defense. They just allowed 100 receiving yards to Alec Pierce and Pittman last week. Obviously, they didn't do that every single game, but they do allow a decent amount. And the wide receiver, too, against the Titans average at least 10 points a game. And this is where I think Waddle could at least have 15 to 18 points in this matchup. I think very similar performance where, again, him and Tyreek could have each 100 yards in that game. I do expect Titans to put up a decent fight. Nothing super crazy, but I do expect a better fight. And again, have this game in a nice little shootout. Now, my first wide receiver I'm going to sit, Nico Collins versus the Jets. And I get it. Nico just went off and had an amazing game. And a lot of you who started him or put him in your lineups were super excited that you did, right? But with Tank Dell pretty much done for the season, which was unfortunate, obviously Nico becomes the wide receiver one. You still have Robert Woods. You still have Noah Brown, depending on health. But Nico's the wide receiver one. Now playing against a Jets defense that has been fantastic against the pass. You have Sauce Gardner, who's going to possibly shadow him most of the game, depending on where they move Nico. It's going to be tough. Jets are only allowing 14 points to wide receivers this season and a total of 3 touchdowns. That's it. 3 touchdowns to the wide receiver this season. That has been fantastic. Again, this pass defense has done a great job. The defense overall has done a great job. So I'm interested in how this is going to play out for both Stroud and Nico. I'm not crazy about the Texans offense in general against this matchup. I think it's going to be a sneaky tough matchup for them. So I'm going to sit Nico if I can. Another wide receiver I'm sitting is going to be Calvin Ridley versus the Browns. Losing Trevor Lawrence is one thing, and that's huge. But also losing Christian Kirk, I think, is a bigger deal as well. So now you got really one of the favorite, receivers for Trevor Lawrence now out. which moves Zay Jones in the wide receiver 2 slot, which now, again, defensive now are going to have to plan and put a lot more focus on Ridley instead of having to worry about Zay Jones and Christian Kirk. So now with the best corner, best safeties, whatever the coverage may be, leaning towards Ridley again, it's going to make this even more challenging. And Ridley has already been struggling for most of the season. On top of that, the Browns have done a really good job against wide receivers, holding them to 13.6 points a game and only 125 yards combined to wide receiving, like to the wide receivers general, like 125 combined. You separate that by 3 receivers for most teams. That's not a lot, right? Like that's 40, 45 yards a game per receiver. So I expect this to be a tough matchup for Jacksonville without, Trevor Lawrence. Obviously he's fighting, trying to see what he can do, but I don't expect him this game. So you got, Beathard in there. No Christian Kirk. Like this is going to be a tough one for him. Now the last receiver I'm going to sit this week is going to be Adam Thielen versus the Saints. I know in the first game, Thielen had a great game. He had 18 fantasy points. He's had some ups and downs towards the end of this season though, which is where his biggest struggle. In the last, I think 4 or 5 games, he's been struggling with 8 points a game. Like it's significant. Like he is not playing very well at all. And realistically, Mingo has been, I think, the favorite right now for Bryce Young. He's starting to show up and do really well. The rookie, I like him a lot. I grabbed him in a few of my dynasty leagues, so I do think he's going to be a nice future piece. But with that said, Thielen, even though he had started off the season really well, he's got a tough matchup as well against the Saints. You got Lattimore on the outside covering the best receiver. Saints are only allowing 12 points a game in the last 4 games alone. Like this is going to be a really tough matchup for Thielen. I think Mingo has an okay game, but I wouldn't start Mingo either as well unless it's a very deep league, but I'm sitting Adam Thielen. Now my sleeper of the week is going to be Jayden Reed versus the Giants. Look, with the chance that Christian Watson could possibly miss with his hamstring, I know they're still trying to figure that out, but it's a Monday night game, so you do have to have some contingency plan with Christian Watson, and hopefully you were able to grab Jayden Reed to kind of fill that spot. But what I do like is that Reed has been actually really good as of late, averaging 14.8 points in the last 4 games. And on top of that, going against a Giants team that's allowing 18.8 points overall to wide receivers each game. So it's going to be a really good one. Love has been fantastic. This Packers offense has been fantastic. I like Reed a lot. He's been utilized in the rushing aspect, utilized in the slot aspect. You still got Dobbs there. I think he's going to, possibly score a touchdown here or there, but I like Jayden Reed a lot this week. So those are my start, sits, and sleepers for the wide receiver position. If you guys do have questions, again, hit me up in the comments down below. I'd love to help you guys out with those tough questions you have for this week. I know this is very important for most of you guys, or even if it's just for seeding. If you guys haven't already, again, check out other start, sit videos. Smash that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button, and I'll check you guys out next time.